Welcome back to Panatel's. This is a place where dark history slowly comes to light, and forgotten stories are finally heard at last. The night air over Northern California had a way of holding its breath. It all began quietly, far too quietly. December 20th, 1968. It was a cold Friday night on a lover's lane near Vallejo. In a parked car, two teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, were on their first date. The radio murmured soft music into the dark, a perfect, innocent scene. Then, headlights cut through the night. Another car pulled up. A door opened. Footsteps crunched on the gravel. And then, gunfire shattered the calm like glass. When it was over, David was dead. Betty Lou, shot 5 times in the back as she tried to run, didn't survive either. There was no warning, no explanation. Just a man who arrived, killed, and vanished back into the fog-shrouded night. At first, it felt like an isolated horror. A robbery gone wrong, perhaps. A tragic, cruel coincidence. But the darkness over the Bay Area wasn't finished. It was just getting started. 7 months later, on the 4th of July, 1969, another couple found themselves in a quiet, secluded spot. Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were parked at Blue Rock Springs Park, just a few miles from the first crime scene. Once again, a car approached. Headlights blinded them. The driver got out, walked towards their car with a flashlight, and without a word, opened fire. He emptied his clip, walked away, then came back to shoot them again. After the shots faded, a call was made to the Vallejo Police Department. A calm, monotone voice spoke. "I want to report a murder." "No, a double murder. They are 2 miles east of Columbus Parkway. They were in a white car. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." Darlene Ferrin died from her wounds. Miraculously, Michael Mageau survived, but his description of the attacker was vague, heavy-set man, his face obscured by the blinding light. The killer had not only struck again, but he had also claimed his first murder. And now, he wanted the world to know his name. Less than a month later, the letters began to arrive. Handwritten envelopes addressed to 3 major newspapers: the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. Inside them were taunts, threats, and a chilling demand. Each letter contained 1/3 of a bizarre, 408-symbol cryptogram. The author demanded that the papers publish his cipher on their front pages, threatening to go on a killing rampage if they refused. He provided details of the murders that only the killer could know, proving his claims were real. And in these letters, he gave himself a name. He signed off with a crossed circle symbol and a single word: Zodiac. The letters dripped with arrogance, with a chilling certainty that the police were always one step behind. They were filled with misspellings, whether intentional or not, which only added to the unsettling nature of his correspondence. The Bay Area was gripped by a new kind of fear. This wasn't just a murderer. This was a performer, a puppeteer who wanted an audience for his reign of terror. The 408-symbol cipher was a direct challenge. He wrote, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous animal of all." A school teacher and his wife, Donald and Betty Harden, cracked the code within a week. But the solution offered no clues, no name, no motive. It was just the rambling, sadistic philosophy of a killer who saw human beings as sport. The mystery only deepened. Zodiac craved the spotlight. He wasn't content to simply kill. He needed to orchestrate the fear, to play a game with the police and the public. In late September 1969, he struck again, but this time the scene was different. He chose a bright, sunny afternoon at Lake Berryessa. College students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were relaxing by the water when a man approached them. He was wearing a strange executioner-style hood with his cross-circle symbol stitched on the front. He carried a gun and a knife. Calmly, methodically, as if it were all rehearsed, he told them he was an escaped convict and needed their car and money to get to Mexico. He tied them up with pre-cut lengths of plastic clothesline. Then his tone shifted. He pulled out a long knife and brutally stabbed them both, over and over. Before leaving, he walked over to Brian's car and drew his symbol on the door, along with the dates of his previous attacks. He then drove to a payphone and, just as before, called the police to report his own crime. "I want to report a murder, no, a double murder," he said, his voice again calm and steady. "They are 2 miles north of park headquarters. They were in a white Volkswagen Carmen Ghia. I'm the one that did it. Cecilia Shepard died 2 days later." Incredibly, Brian Hartnell survived, providing detectives with the most detailed description of the Zodiac yet. But the strange costume, the theatricality of the attack, it was all designed to create terror and confusion. Zodiac was becoming a real-life boogeyman. Just 2 weeks later, he changed his method again. He went from the isolated countryside to the heart of San Francisco. Taxi driver Paul Stein picked up a fare in the theater district, a short ride to the affluent neighborhood of Presidio Heights. At an intersection, the passenger shot Stein once in the head, killing him instantly. The killer then took Stein's wallet and keys, and most chillingly, tore off a piece of his blood-soaked shirt. 3 teenagers in a house across the street witnessed the aftermath and called the police. The initial radio dispatch mistakenly described the suspect as a black man, a critical error that allowed the real killer, a white man, to walk right past responding officers just moments after the crime. He simply blended into the night and disappeared. Days later, a letter arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle. Inside was the bloody piece of Paul Stein's shirt. Proof. Zodiac taunted the police for their incompetence, for letting him slip through their fingers. He claimed he had almost been caught, but had simply walked away, disguised as an ordinary citizen. Fear spread not with screams, but with whispers. Parents checked their locks twice. Young couples stopped parking by the water. Police departments compared notes under flickering fluorescent lights, chasing a shadow that refused to hold still. The Zodiac's reign of mail continued. He sent more ciphers, including the infamous 340-character cipher, which would remain unsolved for over 50 years. He sent a Halloween card to a journalist. He threatened to blow up a school bus full of children. Each letter was a new psychological blow, a reminder that he was out there, watching and enjoying the chaos he had created. Witnesses offered descriptions, but they were frustratingly inconsistent. A man, average height, sometimes described as heavy-set, sometimes not, unremarkable. The kind of face you forget 5 minutes after seeing it. Sketches were drawn and plastered everywhere, but they depicted a man who could have been anyone. Tips flooded in by the thousands. Suspects rose and fell like ghosts at dawn. The most prominent, Arthur Lee Allen, was investigated for years. He wore a Zodiac brand watch, owned the right type of weapons, and made suspicious statements. But handwriting samples didn't match, and DNA evidence eventually cleared him. Years passed. The letters slowed, then stopped. The last confirmed Zodiac letter was sent in 1974, and then silence. No arrest, no trial, no final answer. Just a case file thick with paper and thin uncertainty. Did he die? Was he imprisoned for another crime? Or did he simply stop, satisfied with the terror he had sown? Today, the roads are louder, the cities are brighter, but the questions remain, buried beneath decades of dust and speculation. Who was he when no one was looking? A neighbor? A coworker? A passerby? Someone who blended so perfectly into the world that the world never even noticed him at all? The Zodiac Killer never gave closure. He gave echoes. The ciphers, the letters, the taunts, they have become a part of our dark cultural folklore. Amateur sleuths and professional investigators continue to pick apart the evidence, hoping for a breakthrough. In 2020, a team of private citizens finally cracked the Z340 cipher, revealing another chilling message, but still no name. The case remains open, a haunting reminder that some mysteries refuse to be solved. And on quiet nights in Northern California, when the fog rolls in just right, it can still feel like the past is listening, waiting, patient, unsolved. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. See you in the next video.